Hello.
Salam alaikum.
Alaikum salam. How are you?
I'm fine, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. As I
Yes.
was saying, today the weather in Milan is very strange. We are waiting for what we call it, a tropical thunderstorm, and so that's why I put the lights on, because otherwise it should be night. How's the
Okay.
weather?
Yes, the weather here is nice. It's the beginning of the summer, so there is some rain from time to time, but today it's very nice. Yes.
Yes, and I love Rabat. I've been there also last year in beginning of July, and I think it's a very lovely city. And so I hope to come again and visit your museum. So Dr. CHERKI DAHMALI is the director of the Museum of Maroc Telecom in Rabat, and is member of ICOM Advisory Board and Strategic Plan Committee. So he is the very best person to talk about museum and also to know not only the situation of museums in Morocco, but also having an overall view of the situation of museums also in the Arabian countries, which are very how can I say, lively in the museological part of today. So first of all, as I told you, our aim is to understand how museums have coped, have managed with the situation of the pandemic. How was the situation in Morocco for museums?
Yes, in Morocco we have about 90 museums in general. There are museums which depends on the governmental institution, which is the National Foundation of Museums. They have 14 museums, and we have more than 30 private museums of rich foundation or normal museums, and we have museum of universities and other more than 20 museums of other public institutions like post office, bank of the state, etc. So since 20 March, all museums were closed because it was the decision of governmental decision of the lockdown of all the institutions. So we were obliged to close even our museum, and from time to time, as a museum big staff or curators and directors, they go from time to time to their museum to check the collection situation, to check the security systems, and but the other employees, they work from their home. But for the financial consequences on salaries, hopefully in Morocco, the majority of the museums are from the government, so the salaries they continue to be given to the employees of the majority of the museums. But small private museums, many employees were suffering a lot, and the government give them the opportunity among the other employees of other companies to ask for help from the Corona fund, because in Morocco we made a big Corona fund, which was very important to give help to other sector in Morocco. So these small employees in this kind of museums can ask for help, and the government can respond through administrative procedure, of course. So many other museums also were obliged to suspend contract with freelancer companies and to suspend temporary exhibitions and many other things. And the National Foundation of Museums, they give a help, but only for painter in Morocco, and for the modern art sector, it was 6 million dirham. They will give them only for artists who are suffering from this situation.
That's very interesting and very advanced, because it's not so usual to understand the meaning of artists in the cultural life, but of a society, and so it's very relevant that your government decided so. But I went to visit the Contemporary Art Museum in Rabat, and so I think that your king is the first one to be very concerned about art. And what about the? You told us that all the freelance and the private consultants for museums were, of course, left out from the activities of the reduced activities of museums. And what do you think that they can do to help museum to recover the public when the museum will open again? Or do you think that museums will start to work by themselves without the help of private consultants?
I think that we will be in need of them, of course, after the opening of our museum. As I told you, the contract was not finished, but only suspended. So after the opening, we will we need them in our daily activities, especially for temporary exhibitions. Without freelancer companies, we cannot do more temporary exhibitions. So I think that their role will be very important after the opening. But for this situation, I think that they will wait for a long time, because I think it's even after the end of the year. So many museums will start slowly and gradually, and here in Morocco, there is no clear timeline inside of what's the time for opening of our museum, but I think it will be in the end of the year. So in Morocco, we are a country which rely a lot on tourism.
Yes.
80% of tourists who come to Morocco come for the culture. So small museums or other museums who rely on tickets of visitors, and even the commercial flights will not be open in Morocco in the next month. So I think they will suffer a lot, and I hope that there is no museum who will close definitively.
Yes, but what kind of activities have the museums planned during the time they are closed?
Yes, as all the other museums in the world, in Morocco, many museums invest in the digital content. So, and Ministry of Culture also make a mini platform for the regional services of culture in many pages, with e-meeting, virtual tours, and also, but nothing can be in the place of the physical museum. So, but they do this, and now everything is online. So,
yes.
And in some museums, for example, our museum, we have a virtual visits. It's permanent link. You can visit, but during this crisis, it was a big content of digital teams.
Yes, I went visiting your museum through the application on your website, and I think it's very well done. Really, congratulations. Do you think that the visitors that cannot come physically into the museums nowadays will use much of these devices, of these tools to supply the physical distance, to counterbalance the physical distance. Do you have evidences that
yes. Sure. After the opening of our museums, we should be prepared to a big change of our visitor behavior. So in the next step, only very addicted visitors who will come to our museums, and small visitors from the local community. So we have to be ready to have this kind of situation, and also we have to be ready for additional costs of masks, liquid, of hygienic, and employees of hygienic personnel. And so I think that it's a very big change in our museums that we are facing, not only after the opening, but after all the existence of the museum. So the behavior will change. We will rely a lot on the digital content. But in this case, I open a bracket. I can tell that when we put our collection online, we should be we should pay attention that don't put any collection who is not secured in the virtual tours. You can have the example of the Singerlaren Museum in Netherlands. The Van Gogh painting was stolen because it was in the virtual exhibition of the museum. So we should to be very careful in this issue.
Yes, and do you have an idea on how you can deal with this problem?
So in this problem, I think that museums should not continue using free applications, because free application in the internet, they are not secured very well. So they should use very strong applications and with a maximum of security, because museums, they are like a bank of the heritage of the country. So we should avoid using free application, what we find in the internet and the smartphone stores, etc. And also, according to a report of the European Organization of Museum Network, especially since you asked for ICOM reports, they told that more than I think that 3 from 5 museums, they stopped all the volunteer program, and many museums, especially the private one, they lose between 100,000 and 600,000 euro per week. So it's a very long lose, and to earn this money again, it will be very difficult.
What do you think the possibilities that museums have besides using technology and using not open sources platform? Do you think that it will be possible to develop joint temporary exhibitions between museums and countries in different countries online by paying a ticket for watching the exhibition, for instance, or something like that?
Yes, I think that in the future there is many solutions for that. For example, a museum can make a virtual exhibition and can make the online to visit. You have to pay to visit the online exhibition with a login and a password. It can be this kind of solutions. I think they will be used, and it will be the solution, especially for the first years of the opening. and we will be used. We will invest more in digital content, more mini budget of the museum will make a special budget for the digital content, because we will not have more visitors physically in our museums. So,
and how do you see the relationship between museums and schools in Morocco, in Rabat? For instance, your museum, I think it's a very attractive museum to school children of all ages, but it might be very interesting to come and visit it. Do you think that museums can develop some kind of programs for schools in a digital way?
Yes, sure. Our museum, for example, 76% of our visitors are from schools. So, but for the next step, I think that we have two solutions. We can make visits for schools only with a limited number of students, 10 students per group, or we can make a digital content, make it and we can visit schools.
Yes.
So museum in the next step also will be obliged to go out, not stay waiting for visitor. We can make we can digital content, which is standardized content, and we can visit with this content mini schools, or we can put it in our platform. But I prefer that 2 staff of the museum or 3 can go to schools and present their contents.
Yes, yes. And whom do you think might be some other target group to which the museum might address? I mean, I think that the private sector or whatever, someone who can also pay for the services that museums give.
Mm-hmm.
And
yes.
How they deal? I mean, what do you think? Is it possible? Is it not possible? How do you see it?
I think asking for the help of the private sector or the private foundation, it will be very difficult, because there will be other requests from social associations, social needs. So I think it's we will face some problems to convince private foundation to continue funding culture as it was before. So I think that we should rely on ourselves and try to contact the local community, because after the opening we have 2 kinds of visitors, as I told, addicted visitors or visitors from the local community. So I can make a call from this chat to ask our colleagues, please go and meet your local community, because the majority of museums who work with the tourists, guides, and the mini tourist visitors, they ignore the local community. And so in this time of lockdown, it's time to go to our local community, speak to them, ask for them help. You can find volunteers, you can find even people who can help with money. So the local community in the next step we can play a big role in the reopening period of museums.
So I really think so, because the first step of advocacy and of being relevant, from my point of view, depends really from the local community, from the basis on which museum can rely upon. So I wish you all the best, and I really hope that we all can make it to find new ways of involving our communities to make them more consistent with what we do, and more supportive of in a reciprocal way. So thank you very much for your time. And I have a question. Which local community do you reach out in Rabat with your museum in a specific?
In our museum, we reach because we are in administrative headquarters. Around the museums, there is many companies, ministry. So we go to the employees of these companies instead of taking their lunch rest. They can come to our museum and visit it. And we have a garden in front of our museum, so they can visit the museum and take their lunch and go back to their jobs. So it's very important for us to contact this kind of community which is around us.
Yeah, so that's a very good idea, and I don't know if other followers have other questions, but otherwise, really, I thank you very much for your time. And as you know, we will publish the interview, and so we can spread it around, and and maybe in the future, if you have some other time, we can see again.
Sure.
And we can update on the state of the art in Italy, in Europe, and in Morocco. Thank you very much.
Grazie.
And good luck. Prego.
Grazie mille. Thank you. Bye bye.
Bye bye.